What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know so. And today, starting a new segment. I'm gonna do this every Friday where we just kind of go over news going on throughout football. And you're gonna understand why I call it not PTI in a minute. But go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. It's always much appreciated, much obliged. I got a ton of football content, especially if you like the draft. Do a lot of draft stuff. So hope you would like that. But let's go ahead and let's get into it. And I'm going to start talking about the Jamal Adams trade. I know it's been a little bit since it happened, but still, it's kind of huge. Jamal Adams finally, after being in such a toxic marriage, that marriage is over. He is in Seattle. So basically what the Jets got out of it, they got Barley, McDougal. They got a first rounder in 2021 and 2022, and they're going to receive a third rounder as well from 2021. The Seahawks, they're going to go ahead, they're going to get Adams and a fourth rounder in 2022. You might be like, okay, well then who won the trade? Because I think the key thing is right here, because they're not going to pursue an extension immediately with Jamal Adams, which I think is kind of dangerous. You might get into the Clowney situation where you gave away draft picks for him and then he just walks. You don't want to do that with Jamal Adams. I mean, you already paid a very hefty price. So yeah, sign him long term. You already know what you got. You got one of, if not the best safety in all of football. Sign the homie to a long term deal. Yeah, for goodness sake, you spent a lot to get him. And you might be saying like, well, I mean, it really depends what the Jets use their picks on, and they basically got 2 early second rounders because Seahawks always contend regardless. That's a great draft capital. I think the Jets made the best out of a terrible situation. They managed to actually get a quality starting safety in McDougal, but those 2 first round picks, solid. Getting into third round, another third rounder too, is great. They got out of just that nasty situation. Now all they really need to do is kick Adam Gase because he's just a bad coach in general. But now having 2 first round picks in 2021 and 2 in 2022, you gotta ask yourself, how long are they in this rebuild? Because you're going into the 3rd year of Sam Darnold. If you get rid of Adam Gase this year, you're gonna give a new coach comes in. Are you gonna just give up on Sam Darnold? You're going to go ahead and maybe draft your quarterback in the future this year if you get high enough with maybe get a Trevor Lawrence or a Justin Fields. A lot of questions. I don't think they're going to go that route. I think they really are going to try to continue to build around Darnold because the dude's got phenomenal arm talent. He just needed to be built around because right now he still doesn't have the playmakers around him despite whatever you want to say. He does not have a number 1 receiver, hardly even a number 2 receiver currently. Believe me, Perriman is not a number 1 or number 2 receiver, and Denzel Mims, sure, he's still out. We don't know. So we're just going to have to wait on that and see what they use their first rounders for. They did address the offensive line a ton in the offseason for Darnold. We'll see how that works out. But overall, I think both teams, as long as the Seahawks can get a long-term deal done, because it'll be the stupidest thing in the world they decide to just let him walk. Be dumb. Don't do it. Next, Raheem Mostert, dude signed a new deal. Good for him. Now a lot of the fantasy football world sighing relief, like, oh, okay, we know he's going to stick with the 49ers because the dude was money last year. He was a big part of their offense. He was the most reliable back in their backfield. So basically, and this is reported by Ian Rappaport, basically said that it's going to include a lot of achievable incentives and sign-in bonuses. So I'm assuming for the most part, as long as he has a year similar as last year, he's going to get all that money. And it should make him the highest paid back in that backfield because Tevin Coleman, he was getting 4.5 or 4.55 million. That just sounds weird. 4.5 million per season. So with this new with the new restructure in Mostert's contract, he should be getting paid around $5.5 million per year, which good for him. He deserved it. He had a banger of a year. He's been kind of just a journey player throughout his career, and it's nice that he potentially has found a home, because he was great last season. Let's just ask the Packers. They're still having nightmares about him. And us in the fantasy world would be like, thank goodness we could have confidence in Raheem Mostert staying here and not having to worry about him getting traded elsewhere. So, yeah, fantasy community, sigh of relief. But let's go ahead, let's keep it in fantasy, kind of, sort of, because Damian Williams opting out of the 2020 season. And decided that, I think he said his mom, she has a form of cancer. It's like stage 4. It's really bad. And he just didn't want to potentially bring anything harmful into his home. He didn't want to. He's already got those underlying conditions. He didn't want to make things worse by playing the year. You know, hey, whatever makes you feel safe, you do you. You do what's best for your family. But let's talk about the fantasy implications, because now Clyde EdwardsHelaire, he seems like the lone back there. And you're right. And this honestly pushes him to a second rounder in most fantasy football drafts. Like, he's instantly second rounder, and we'll discuss why. But I would say expect a slow start, because yes, I know he's the first round running back to be ever picked by Andy Reid, but still expect him to get slowly kind of moved into the offense. You kind of saw that with Kareem Hunt, because Kareem Hunt, he didn't really honestly get a shot until I think it was Spencer Ware got hurt. So that's why he was given his opportunity. So I expect maybe DeAndre Washington to at least take more snaps in the first couple of weeks than Clyde EdwardsHelaire, but he will be valuable, because that season, that Kareem Hunt, his rookie year, he nearly totaled 1,800 yards. 1,800 yards total from scrimmage. There we go. Gosh, it's late. My words aren't there yeah, they're all jumbly. But he also had 11 touchdowns as a rookie. He put out a banger of a year. He was a sleeper for a lot of people. And then the next season, he was averaging over 100 total yards a game and 14 scores through 12 outings alongside Patrick Mahomes. I'm just saying, Patrick Mahomes, you saw what he did with Damian Williams. He makes these, I hate to say, he makes a mediocre back look really good. And Clyde EdwardsHelaire is not a mediocre back. He is superb, especially in the passing game. So this guy's going to be on the field a lot. And DeAndre Washington's similar in that regard. But let's be honest, it's going to be maybe a few weeks of maybe Washington, and then we get Clyde EdwardsHelaire. Regardless, the dude's going to be a second round pick. He's going to be highly sought out, as he should be. So keep that in mind if you really want him, because this guy definitely could be a running back one when the season's up. And then next we have Caleb Barley is opting out of the 2020 season. He's the second player to do this in college football, the first being Illinois' Rayvon Bonner, which he's not really on anyone's draft radar, so don't worry about that. But Barley is deemed to be, by some, by me, the best corner, or at least the top corner in this upcoming draft. He's widely regarded as a first rounder. So now him sitting out, and again, he cited his family, and he wants to focus on getting ready for the draft. So for me, he's staying number one, because he's practicing for the NFL draft. He's preparing for the NFL draft. So I don't see why that should hurt his stock one bit. We won't really know more about him until we see him at the combine and his pro day. And that's when I think we could really, cast judgment on him and see where he is. But the dude, he's got a lot of physical upside. The guy should run in the 4.3s, and as long as he looks like he has all the physical tools that we think he does have, he'll be fine. It'll be interesting to see what other players may opt out of the college football season. So I eagerly wait, because I cover a lot of draft stuff. And then next, let's talk about the NFL Top 100, because let's be honest, it sucked. I don't know what they're doing. First off, Patrick Mahomes, number 4. The dude won the Super Bowl. He's the best quarterback in the league. I mean, I'll give you a benefit of the doubt if you want to put Lamar Jackson number 1 because he was the MVP. Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl. He's the best. No one throws a prettier ball in the NFL like Patrick Mahomes. He is literally the reason why teams are out there looking for the next Patrick Mahomes. And I'm looking at you, Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love. And then, yeah, number 2, you had Russell Wilson, which is fine, but still, it's not Patrick Mahomes. He literally changed that franchise. Like, you could be like, oh, yeah, well, Alex Smith, he was getting them to the playoffs. He was leading that team well. Yeah, but he wasn't getting them to the Super Bowl. This guy, that's why he's got a 10-year deal. He's that freaking good. Why is he at 4? And then, even worse, let's keep with the Chiefs, because Mitchell Schwartz, probably the best right tackle in football, didn't even make the list. He didn't even make their honorable mentions. What the heck? Let's talk about Zadarius Smith. He's here at 48. He only led the league in pressures. He was double teamed 48% of the time. The guy was phenomenal. He was arguably maybe the defensive player of the year. And he's at 48. And I just want to point out at how many running backs are really high on the NFL top 100. And let's be honest, running back, it's a devalued position. There's a special case where running backs, yes, like Christian McCaffrey, that dude is amazing. He deserves to be high up the list. But honestly, most teams nowadays, they know they don't need a quality run, they don't need a top end running back for their offense to run efficiently. That's why you see guys like Melvin Gordon holding out, not getting nothing. Teams are regretting resigning Todd Gurley, and now they moved on from him because they're putting themselves in cap hell for a position that doesn't nearly do as much as it once did. Because right now, a lot of running backs, their production is typically indicative of the state of the offensive line, the down, and the scheme they're in. A lot of coaches now are just drafting guys that fit their scheme, and they're fine with it. Look at the 2 Super Bowl teams. Raheem Mostert, who was basically a journeyman most of his career, and then Damian Williams, who was basically a journeyman his whole career. Granted, I know the Chiefs just spent a first rounder on Clyde EdwardsHelaire. But regardless, the NFL's top 100, it's just not good. And I'm actually going to put out my own top 100. So I'm going to spend this weekend whipping that together. You're going to get 20 players each day until we get to the top ones. So hopefully it's better than this list. And if not, then maybe it's harder than I think. I don't know. And then next, we have players opting out of the season. And we also have a lot of guys getting on the injured reserve or the pandemic list. So let's go over a few of those because there's some names. There's some names coming up. Big one, I think, for first one on this list is the Buffalo Bills. You got Star, Mr. I can't pronounce your last name, but they have a deep enough rotation at on the interior, so I'm not too worried about that. I mean, it kind of sucks Vincent Taylor ended up being on the reserve list, but he should be fine. Then just keep going. Eddie Goldman for the Bears, he's opting out of the season. That's pretty huge. You got the Lions. They got hit big because they got Kenny Galladay, T.J. Hawkinson, Monty Awarie, and stinking Justin Coleman all on the reserve list. So we'll see. I'm gonna be watching that one carefully. Devin Funchess, he opted out, but I don't think he was gonna make a big difference for the Packers at receiver anyway. The Jaguars, a lot of their rookies are on the reserve, as well as second-year player Jawan Taylor, who was a right tackle, who during the second half of the season was pretty freaking darn good. So yeah, that's kind of a big hit there. The Chiefs, we already talked about Damian Williams. Then we got the Vikings. They were hit big too with Anthony Barr, Justin Jefferson, and Odenigbo all on the reserve list. And then you have Michael Pierce opting out, which I don't think is too bad. A lot of people are like, oh, that sucks a lot. Listen to me. I'm a big fan of Armon Watts, the former rookie out of Akron. I think this is his second year now, but he played very good in a reserve role last year. And I I expect the Vikings to be fine when it comes to Michael Pierce. Like, I don't think it's that big of a loss. Yes, he's a good player, but I think they have quality players there. More so Anthony Barr and Odenigbo. They really need to. Hopefully those guys are A-okay. We already talked about all the players opting out for the Patriots. I mean, Patrick Chung, which I don't think it was a big loss. I think Kyle Duggar should fill his role nicely. Marcus Cannon was huge. Dante Hightower was a big one. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on with that. New York Giants, Nate Soldier, he's opting out, but that just means Matt Pert and Andrew Thomas. That your time is now. See what these rookies can do. And those were two guys I was very high on in the draft. And then you got Lane Johnson on the reserve list. Marquise Goodwin, he's opting out for the season. I don't think that's too much. Or I don't think it's that big because they drafted a lot of receivers. And then you got oh yeah, the tight ends. Isaiah Wilson's opting out for the season, but they should be fine. They have oh goodness, what is his name? Oh, I'm blanking. At right tackle. He's been there for so long. And they just signed him to like a 3-year deal. It is Dennis Kelly. Thank you. Wow. Gosh, man. My brain is not here at the moment, but I think they'll be fine. I like Nate Davis in case they were deciding to maybe move Wilson to the inside. Nate Davis was fine near the end of the season, especially in the playoffs. Tampa Bay, they're losing potentially. Well, they got Keyshawn Vaughn on the reserve list. So I don't know how big of a hit that'll be if he's unable to play, but they brought in LaShawn McCoy and they still got Ronald Jones, which I know people love Ronald Jones. But that's it for the video. Go ahead, do that YouTube stuff. Let me know how you like the series. So it's first incarnation, so hopefully it gets a little smoother from here on out. But until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.